Hello and welcome to TJF Talks. I'm Khris.
I'm Chita. On the podcast, we talk to notables about jazz, the life, the music, the vibes, everything in between, on something we like to call improversations.
Well, and today we welcome Russell Hall. He is a bassist, musical explorer, and one-of-a-kind presence. Now, he was born in Kingston, Jamaica, and raised also in Miami, and he refined his chops at Dillard and Juilliard, amongst other places, and he was taught by Ron Carter, Ben Wolf. We talk about a lot of this in the interview today, and he is leading adventurous projects around the world, and he is a wealth of knowledge.
He might be the epitome of adventure.
Yes, a true living pirate for sure.
A couple of highlights, and there are a lot to get to, but he definitely talks about how music is democratic in nature. He talks about Ron Carter, as you just mentioned,
Right.
that being his bass player. And he also talks about Jamaica and Bob Marley. So we've got a lot to cover today and lots of great information and stories for you to hear
Wonderful.
live on TJF Talks.
We came in hot today.
Yeah, we did.
We are talking with Russell Hall. We are so excited that you are here with us on the TJF Talks podcast.
I mean, normally this is where we'd be like, oh, hey, welcome. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah, I know.
You're
Yeah,
like the interview all in of yourself.
Well, I kind of live there.
I don't need to tell you we're going to do, this, that, and the other, and it's improversations, like improv with conversation. You're already in it.
Yeah, we're in it. So let's just keep on going. And you heard I entered you already, and an amazing thing that you do. And so let's go back to, how about the beginning, right? You're born in Jamaica. And then moved to Miami when you're young, and you're listening to all these influences, probably music around you from your cultures, and both vary. So let's talk about that. Like, how does that early music and what you ingested there, how did that inform you?
So I just as a background, I was born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica, and went to Mona Prep School and Woolmer's Boys School down there, which was a high school. I left in what would have been my 7th grade year, but I moved to Miami right after. I was a child actor when I was living in Jamaica, so I didn't do music at all. So I wanted to basically be like Johnny Depp and Denzel Washington when I was a kid, from like the age of 3. So I was in it. Like, I was in 2 theater companies, the Alice Hogarth Theater Company and also the Kathy Levy Players, and then also my own school's
Was it mostly stage acting then?
It was everything. Stage, musical theater. I had to dance. I had to wear a leotard. And I mean, much to my grandfather's chagrin, I was wearing a leotard. He's like, no, me no want to see my grandson in that leotard, man. No. Take that thing off. No. All of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So then, so growing up, I did all of that. I mean, anything from Shel Silverstein to like portraying Marcus Garvey as a little kid and like a little chubby kid in a suit, like it's so cute, the little Marcus Garvey kid, and like, trying to speak with an air of propriety and dominion.
Is there a lot of theater in Kingston?
Well, yeah, because Jamaica has a very rich history of the arts, because we have a very rich history connected to our African culture, mixed with the presentation of it through, unfortunately through colonialism, but through colonialism. So I've even met the Queen of England before too. So like all of it, and Jamaica is really heavily centered around the arts. Like you go there and it's instant, because we have rich food, we have rich culture, it's very unique, because it's one of the only Anglophone Caribbean countries that has that kind of Spanish influence from before, but none of the people really speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And that makes it really unique in terms of the rhythm of the people. The rhythm is actually, and I studied this because I've been traveling around the Caribbean. I've been to Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, like all these different, but Mexico and South America. And the thing that I've been studying is like trying to figure out, well, what's going on here? Like why is Jamaica, which is an Anglophone country, just seated in this like Mexican, the Spanish hotbed, right? Right next to Mexico, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola. And Jamaica was a Spanish colony. The word Jamaica is a Spanish word, which means land of wood and water, and it was spelled with an X. It was spelled Jamaica. and there's a lot of Spanish named places in Jamaica. So this is part of what my work was for this album that I just put out, Dragon of the South. But growing up in Jamaica, you're just immersed in a musical, and it's the musical hotbed of the folkloric traditions such as mento, kumina, ska, and this is all stuff that I grew up, and then also the gospel tradition, so the Pentecostal church, and all of that stuff, deeply seated in the Baptist church, deeply seated in Jamaica, the Catholic church, and then all of that was happening. You also have like some of the greatest artists, like visual artists and painters. My aunt happened to be the head of a visual arts program at Edna Manley College, which is one of the most premier arts colleges in the Caribbean, and Edna Manley was the wife of Norma Manley, and she was the one that kind of decorated the beauty of Jamaican artistry. And then you talk about people like Louise Bennett, and Oliver Samuels. These are like some of the most stalwart, hilarious, genius artists.
Wow.
Of time and space. I mean, and that's what I grew up in. So, and mixed with also growing up country on a farm, and like growing up with a grandfather who was assistant commissioner of police, and I had a gun in every room in the house, and 500 chickens in the coop, and I got to sit in the back with the goats, and the goats pooping on your foot with a bale of oranges.
Than the two of us.
I mean,
it sounds like my childhood, really.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm like pretty normal.
But that, so
Did you churn butter?
Yeah. Oh, But I mean, that's how I grew up. So it's all of these influences, mixed with, of course, the legacy and genius that is Bob Marley and reggae and all of that, and the connect, how rich it is for such a small place, especially seated in the South too, because you get that influence of hip hop culture and Black culture, which is very different from Caribbean culture, down into the Caribbean, and it's all like being influenced, because Jamaica, I mean, has without a doubt been one of the most influential cultures in the world. I think, which is
without a doubt
crazy because it's so small.
Can I take a side trip, because
sure.
you said it, like Bob Marley. Side note, when I was in college, reggae was huge here, and we had a lot of roots reggae folks here. I like literally one of my greatest joys was playing in a roots reggae band for many years, and Bob Marley is still one of the artists that can bring me to tears.
Oh,
on any given moment, there's just something about it, his music, his lyrics, his way of touching that, and I could hear it in your voice. He inspired you. He inspired a nation. He inspired a world. Like, you care to elaborate a little bit more on that?
On Bob Marley? Oh my God!
I mean, we have 3 hours.
A couple of years. I mean, first of all, I'll go just to kind of tie the loose end of that too. Is like, because I had all that influence and I'll get into my jazz stuff, because that's all a whole other world.
Yeah.
But that kind of happened once I moved to the States. Unfortunately, there's no jazz in Jamaica on a high level. The closest you get is like a couple musicians that really play, and I mean, but there is no rooted jazz scene, mainly because, and this is to tie it back to the side where Bob Marley is because Jamaica has such a rich culture on its own. Jamaicans are, everybody knows that Jamaicans are some of the most, I don't want to say arrogant people, but we're kind of the most proud people in the Caribbean. Like, we're kind of the capital of the Caribbean. We're always just like, like we're always there. It's like Jamaica's like the New York of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I could see that.
And it's like, because it has that thing where it's like, we kind of have a little bit of everybody's cultural flavors and stuff. It's not the same as the Spanish-speaking Caribbean, which is completely different, which is a whole other pedagogy and folklore, which is weird because, but I get in that. But Bob Marley, the thing that makes Bob Marley so unique is that he technically is akin to a James Brown or like a Mick Jagger, like that kind of like musical mind who's I call them druids of the blues, like people
Yeah.
that go in, or like wizards of the blues, like people that go in and they explore what are people doing in their life. They're working constantly. This is blue collar life. What does the upper class look like? What is the middle of that? What is nightlife? What is romantic life? Where's the culture? How postmodern the concept of Bob Marley really is. Ooh, girl.
Oh.
Bob Marley is so postmodern when you really think about it. But the reality is like he's also rooted in this quite literal druidic study, Rastafarianism.
Right.
So unique.
Right.
So, and I mean, I really, and it will tie back to kind of the pirate thing in a bit, but like when I really studied Rastafarianism back in 2016 into 2017, going into like kind of almost 2020-ish, I went deeper into other kinds of spirituality come 2020, like Ifa and the Tao. But Bob Marley started studying with this guy named Mortimer Plano, who studied with another guy named Emmanuel Harold. And the fact that they were trying to, kind of get to the Ark of the Covenant because of what, the implications of the Bible were and what they felt was owed to them as Black people in the Caribbean, they just completely took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
I mean, Rastafari is like a whole movement of Black consciousness that isn't even connected to even West Africa. It's an East African concept,
Yeah.
but adapted to people from West Africa that are either Nigerian or Ghanaian. And because you get that melting pot, granted, Nigeria and Ghana has its own rich and furtive culture. Like the whole concept of Anansi is huge in Jamaica, and that is, a Ghanaian or like Pan-African like kind of concept. This concept of the infinite web that is weaved by the creator of the universe and stories, but and how that is connected to the god Elegua in Nigeria from Yoruba. And how the idea of storytelling is how we preserve culture and how we, move it forward. And but that's what Bob Marley does. The only issue is because of the Judeo-Christian implications in Jamaica, the study of like more pagan, or I don't want to say pagan, but yeah, like more primordial spiritual beliefs is seen as obia or a taboo. Like you have some people that they go to that and that's what their thing is. And then you also have the people like Marlon James who are like deep intellectuals who incorporate this and see it as a means of healing for the people. Kind of like myself too, as a means of healing. You have to be very careful with this stuff because it has subliminal implications and it's religion at its core. But Bob Marley went somewhere completely different, which is almost kind of akin to like the Orthodox, Greek and Russian and Armenian church, the study of penitence and atonement. And you feel that when you see the Rastafarian music. The only issue is with Bob Marley, he's checking out James Brown and Sam Cooke while at the same time, see. That's how you see the connection.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That's how we're connected right there.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me you're checking out Orthodox Ethiopian culture, right?
Right.
And you're studying the Ark of the Covenant so you can attain this infinite pot of manna, so you can ascertain and ascend to the kingdom of heaven forever and ever. Amen. Shashamani. Boom, boom, boom. Cool.
Yeah.
And you're also going to the nightclub and listening to like Papa's Got a Brand New Bag.
Yeah.
And Sam and Dave and Chuck Berry and Louis Jordan.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Rastafarian music so unique.
Yeah.
Reggae is so unique because of all of those influences. And I think reggae is like some of the music of the future, because it's like when you think about the concept of trying to sustain that groove and what it means in connection to the environment, because music is influenced by this environment. That's why I really went in on flamenco, and when I started going to Spain more and more Spanish-speaking countries, you hear why the music sounds like this. You're going to a place that is maybe either arid or has like a climate that would make music that sounds that way very like kind of adjacent, it kind of makes sense. You think flamenco, you think, oh, cool. I mean, like, like a dusty kind of tundra kind of thing. But in Jamaica, it's the same thing. It's like, here's mangroves and here's why this, like this music sounds like it's bubbling, because these people are like probably drinking a red stripe and like kicking back and, smoking a
Right.
spliff, and they're like at the nightclub. But then at the same time, in the daytime, they're like living at the light of God with no electricity, just on the sun
Right.
and working the fields, like picking up, like eating yam from the ground, and then, singing for God with a drum beating on, like with a giant drum.
It's crazy.
Such a unique thing.
It's such a
So
unique
unique.
culture, and
So
all
unique.
those things, and the listening. I mean, very similar, I would say. At the same time, over across the sea on the African continent, the same likeness to what Fela Kuti is doing.
Oh, very. I mean,
Right?
but that's a whole other level.
Yeah. We
You're
won't go.
talking
We won't go
Fela.
there.
I
But
mean, Fela is a whole other world too. But I mean, they're very connected.
but they're listening to like
Parliament Funkadelic. I mean, like,
exactly.
these kind of but then you go to jazz and you see the similarities. Dizzy Gillespie and Duke Ellington. It's the same thing.
Right.
Like these, when you're making music, you're a conjurer. You're making something out of thin air. You're trying to, you're kind of like a magician.
Yeah.
You're connected to that spirit, and it's very connected. There's some level of centripetal motion. But when you see all of these guys, Bob Marley, George Clinton, Dizzy Gillespie, they're all really trying to conjure something to help heal, either heal the people or move the people forward. Both are kind of necessary, but
Yeah.
some artists lean one way or another.
Which way do you lean?
Destruction. And being silly, like silly, I'm into like, well, I'm a rocker.
Yeah.
In my core, like
Yeah.
that's kind of what my station is. But as a jazz man, and how much of jazz I've been engrossed in and love and have been a part of, I have such an affinity for all of it. Like,
Right.
and that's why I'm kind of like, I'm like, well, yeah, at the end of the day, the best thing is probably just like if Lemmy Kilmister would have played jazz or something, like what, like that's kind of how I'm like, oh yeah, you got to kind of, because jazz is so acute. Jazz is a mixture of this postmodern ideal with like ideals from the past, with like just the general sense of normalcy.
Yeah.
Like when the idea that I'm looking up at the picture, I can't help but look at Jimmy Cobb, but the idea that you look at Jimmy Cobb and like see this dude that play on thousands of records, and then you're just in a diner with him and he's like complaining about the quality of the potatoes or something, and then you're sitting there, you just kind of laughing, and then he like brings up, but then you're listening to the Birth of the Cool, like when I was driving with Emmett Cohen, my great friend and collaborator and colleague, and we're driving and we're listening to Birth of Cool, and he's singing every solo verbatim and knows everything. So this is a well of information. But then you see that and you're like, oh, there's this sense of normalcy that jazz gets to, where we can have an egalitarian society and like a quasi utopia where people are taken care of and they are protected, and there's a well of resources for them to live, because it is hard, girl, at the end of this day, it is still just arts and crafts. It don't matter if you're Herbie Hancock or some little, abuela on the side of the street. It is arts and crafts. These people, and some people like their arts and crafts. Like maybe you get to Diego Rivera. Maybe you still just, like selling in front of the street. But it is still arts and crafts. So that sense of normalcy that a community can be like, oh, well, this person needs like lung surgery, or like, oh, did you see this guy got beat up or something? We got to like save him. Or, oh, can somebody like lend an accordion to this dude who has a klezmer gig at the Century? That's what the community really is. When you decide to play music, you are entering a world you have no idea the vastness of. And that's the thing I'm learning now. People that I saw at the beginning of my journey, like Angelo Versace. I mean, very beginning of my journey, Jason Carter, people that I met while I was living in Miami, working at the university, going to University of Miami to just like hang around the cats, hang around the cats.
There, you went jazz right there, right there in that line,
because
right?
that's it, like that. But that's a part of it,
Yeah,
like jazz,
exactly.
because you spend so much time around people like Tootie Heath and Jimmy Cobb. They have something that I'm telling you, when that generation is gone, you need the people that still remember Tootie Heath's stories. You still need the people that remember Roy Haynes, especially because, Roy Haynes is like connected to a whole other side of the music. Charlie Parker and Billie Holiday. I mean, I can't even fathom what seeing Billie Holiday would be like. I mean, that's why I got a tattoo on my neck.
Yeah.
So I could see it every morning. But like to see that, because I watch it online. I tell people all
But
the time.
you've learned like from Ron Carter, like living legend.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to
like
see him next week. He's gonna cuss me out too. I love it. He's gonna be like, elbows up, man. I know you're getting tired. I'm like, man, you're 90. You still got your elbows up.
I know, right? Like you're giving me a hard time.
Oh no, but he's the best.
But you're talking about like, what is it like? You didn't get to see Billie Holiday, but like, I mean, you're working with Ron Carter. You're gonna go see him.
Well,
talk about that experience.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Well, this album really is in tribute kind of to Ron Carter.
Say the name of the album again.
It's called Dragon of the South.
Dragon of the South.
Because I tried to make an album. It's basically like supposed to be like a Quentin Tarantino coming of age jazz record. That's how I crafted it.
This might be something I've never heard like in the same sentence to compare
Quentin Tarantino when it comes to jazz.
But I love it.
Oh my, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's just a kind of about my journey as just as a dude, dude guy. When I started studying with Ron Carter, Maestro, as we call him.
Well-deserved title for him.
Oh, yeah. I call him Sensei Supreme because every time I go to him, it's like you get to the mountaintop and you meet the final grandmaster of the bass. And you're like, so how do you, like, I mean, you have to imagine the amount of Ron Carter that I've actually checked out is probably clinically insane. So like, and he exudes my being. Like every day I wear a scarf. I always wear a scarf every day.
That's an honor to
because
Ron.
Oh yeah. I mean, my whole being is an honor to him. But like because also there's implications of things that he was doing that came from rock. But I'll get into that. There's a lot of elements of Ron Carter that I can really get into. Yeah. But the main thing was like, and you'll see because on the record, the first single that we put out was called The Sorcerer. Yeah. And it's a picture of me meeting Ron Carter when I was like 14 I think it was 2009. Yeah, it was Valentine's Day of 2009. And like, I'm like, I'm exactly how I am. I'm just like cheesy, but I don't have any hair and I'm wearing like an oversized suit. And I got braces and stuff and my hair is short. And then he's there looking, sartorial in his like, creamsicle, shawl and, his bufanda is perfectly propped and he has, his corduroy pants are just perfectly
just how I am.
It's like, he's like, there's certain dudes in jazz that I'm looking at them, I'm like, how do you do this every day? Like, you just step out, look like Charles Lloyd is like that.
Did you wake up looking that good?
Yeah, like Charles Lloyd is like that too. Like,
oh yeah, Charles is still like, yeah.
And Ron Carter, they had that thing where it's just like, what? like, okay.
Yeah.
But
born this way.
Yeah. Oh, they wake up vibing, right? Like they just got it, right? Yeah. It's just clean. There. It's on my sleeve.
Yeah. But then I have my whole arm on him and he's just standing there like, get up. It's so good.
You're gonna mess up
perfect. Yeah, it's just so perfect. It's so perfect. And because of that, like, and my journeys with Ron Carter, being in lessons, like leaving lessons, so sad. But then also leaving, like how much him and his wife have supported me as a young Black person in the world. Oh my God, you have no idea. Seeing what excellence looks like. What it means to strive for excellence every single day. It doesn't matter if you sound good, bad, or indifferent. He's trying to get to that level every time. And just that level of effort means something. Because he grew up in Ferndale. He was a kid of many children that, just struggling, trying to get by, trying to play 8 hours a day on his cello, then going to Rochester, not able to walk in the front of his place of work. Things that I can't fathom, things that we always take for granted because we're trying to ascend to something great. And you know, I I tried to craft this album so people could see what my life looked like, but in a way that was familiar, like the tropes of everything, you know, the tropes of my relationship with all my mentors, Wynton Marsalis. What does it mean? Like, what is the dragon? The dragon of the South for me is it's almost akin to the Duke Ellington Afro Eurasian eclipse, where it's like we are trying to we're living in 2025. We live in the data information age. Infinite information. Jazz is now online completely. I can go on my phone at any point right now and like
Listen
pretty
to
much
any
see,
jazz
pretty much
that
see
it's existed
anyone
ever.
or
Yeah.
communicate with anyone at any given point. Make a group chat full of every bass player in the world and like trash one bass player. No, I'm not gonna name. But we all know who we would trash.
That
But like stuff like that, and like and then also simultaneously being exposed to alt culture, fringe culture. The entirety of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I started seeing these parallels and I was like, what's going on here? Like we're kind of living simultaneous realities, where jazz is here, but then we go and play the gig and it's there, but then also you're filming it, so it's here and there. It's so, so what I tried to do, because I'm starting to see all these younger musicians, like these, Y2K, I call them Y2K, East Side Pirates, because they kind of adopt a little bit of like maybe a Japanese flair, maybe a little Spanish flair, maybe a little black, hip hop kind of thing. But they all kind of occupy the same space. And like I started going to clubs like Close Up and Ornithology and in LA like Cafe Tono and like Sam First. Like certain places they're getting so innovative that now you have a completely new audience for the music, who are just young people that are just down for a night out and have just experienced.
Isn't that kind of gratifying?
Yeah,
you're able
it is
to reach
gratifying, but
that?
the thing that can get lost sometimes is the people that were around Jimmy Cobb, the people that were around Ron Carter. So because of that, I'm trying to create a space where like people that will never get to interact with Jimmy Cobb, or by virtue of him passing away, or that whole generation, we need to look to who those people are now. The Jeff Tain Watts, the Mark Whitfields, the Robert Hurst, the Eric Revis, the Branfords, those people like that are still, R.I.P. Roy Hargrove, like R.I.P. D'Angelo. Jesus, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
I don't even want.
That one hurt.
That's weird. But regardless, like that's what this thing is about, and the South being this album has a lot of meanings, but it's basically about also the homeliness. What does it mean to when something is from the South? You don't go down, you're like you just instantly go somewhere where it's like, it's home. You want the music to feel like home for people.
Is the South representing like?
Well,
how does that
for me it's all of it, because one, this album was written and composed like around my travels, and I ended up just by virtue going to South America all the time. So that's one version of the South, like where it's like you're just in a guerrilla style, You should see how I travel. That's all I own is my guitar case. So like I just have my underwear and my clothes, and then I wash it in the sink every night, and then I just do it. I'll shout out to Yasushi Nakamura. Because when I was traveling, I'd lose stuff, or like you have the singer and she's got an 80-pound bag, and you're like, oh my God, I can't, like I gotta carry this thing now, and and then everybody's like, losing luggage, and I was like, well, I need to basically travel like this is the apocalypse, but it's also a vacation. So I don't want any stress, girl. I don't want no stress. You guys leave me alone. I'll see you on the other side of the carousel. Bye.
Oh my God, I love that.
Oh yeah, so I travel super minimal. Oh my God, and I also bring a guitar on the road, so I'm always practicing, because some places I can't play the piano, or you get like a piano player, they don't want you all up on the piano banging away and stuff, or like with the bass, like like I won't have access to it all the time, even if I'm in my room. So, and I like to not be too much on my phone anymore, except for work and stuff. So I like just play guitar in my room and like
That's
so I have a thing about that. Like and it also helps me to like maintain my peace so that when I get on the bandstand, I know what I'm doing.
it's a mindful exercise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just generally practice. Like
Right,
every time
yeah.
you play an instrument, you're getting more skills to play another instrument. Like
Sure.
playing the guitar has helped my bass playing so much because now like I can kind of look at it more from a technical standpoint rather than like just like the function of the instrument. Now I can look at it like a scientist, and say,
Yeah.
okay, well, what centripetal force do I need here to be, those kind of things, boring things. I'd rather get back to the juicy stuff. But regardless, yeah, so this album is about coming of age because I've put this, and it's my fourth record. I'm right now up with La Reserve. Shout out to La Reserve. Shout out to the Block Brothers. I love them so much. They're,
Yeah.
we've been a team, and it's been amazing. It's been easy. It's what it should be. But it's all about it. It's all part of that, and
Yeah.
that's why on the record it has cultural references, almost like I call it almost like graffiti or something. But the way that we're playing together is very akin to how all the jazz masters have played. It starts with like a Yoruba prayer in the beginning and then go and like a Cuban thing and then goes into some burnout because it's supposed to symbolize this unification of the people through the music, the survivors. Let's not forget that we all went through COVID. Let's not forget that like 5 years of our life just like have been a completely different terrain.
Yeah.
We never thought we'd get to that in the modern age. A Black Plague. But more than that, a Black Plague in an information age where people are just in wherever they are. That's insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Such a distortion of reality. So because of that, a lot of this album is fueled by like the idea of apocalypse, the idea of a desert, almost like a Mad Max scape. Because when I was traveling, I mean, it would be so disorienting. I'd get to Guadalajara. I mean, they know me in Mexico that because I've gone to Mexico so many times through Jazz at Lincoln Center. I go there and we get to the Hotel Velvet, and every time it's the same thing. Weren't you just here? I'll be like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then because you're going to Mexico all the time, you're interacting with people that are dealing with the implications of what it just simply means to be Mexican in the world after
Yeah.
everything
Oh.
going on, and like they're still some of the most innovative people you've ever met in your life. Like some of the best meals, some of the best jazz I've went to,
100%. Yeah.
some of the best venues, some of the most innovative venues. I mean, there was this one venue I went to in Puebla that was, oh my God, it was insane. It had like 3 levels, but the idea of innovation through these like places that are connected to the last sepulchers of nature and the ruins of man, like you go to Uruguay and you go to Argentina, you go to like the Caribbean, and you see people trying to innovate the places that they live amidst the jungle and the ocean and nature and the desert. You trying to innovate with nature as and be sustainable rather than like impeding upon what's already the natural resources, which is a huge part of what I think the music really should be and what we're trying to get to. I've been a vegetarian, everybody knows, for like about 9 years, except, like stuff without eyes and stuff, but I'm not going to get too deep in that. Yeah, it's, that's why, like, I started working on this record, especially because there's the other generations of people where they're not thinking about conservation. They're thinking about getting from gig to gig. The people in the Northeast, the people that live in in Philadelphia, it doesn't to the heat to say, but in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh, in New York, in Jersey, people that I interact with every day that couldn't care less about, and that like just have a deli on the corner and they're like, you want a bologna? Say you want a pastrami or you want a Reuben?
Yeah.
like that, especially because like when you see integration and you see integrated families, I have now through my mom's marriage, a whole Italian side of my family on my mom's side. So when I go to their home and like, they see Captain Dude guy and like, rocker dude, and then I'm seeing like the Donya of the house, and you have to go there and like when I play Embraceable You and when I learn the Great American Songbook, what does that mean? What are the implications of knowing Cole Porter and George Gershwin? How important is that to people that went through the exact same thing that you went through? The Great Depression, the war, all of the wars, Vietnam War, World War II, World War One. What are the implications of this? And why are they still here?
Yeah.
That stuff is so important. And as I got older, especially because we play with such a wider range of audiences, anybody from like older, white people to like young people that just like are on Instagram all the time to like, more Christian based black people from the, either down south or down home. So you have to almost get like kind of reptilian or something. You have to be like a chameleon and like be able to interact with people, but at the same time have a core foundation. But what I learned is because you develop your foundation to be something that is mutable but rooted, they kind of by virtue just get it. So I'll go play a gig and it's like some granny that like just all she wants to hear is Vic Damone or something. Like not even Frank Sinatra, but like somebody way more deep cut that like she, like she only heard because of her radio when, her dad was off to war or something. When you go and you're like, and then you show me, oh, the towering feeling, just, like, so you go there and like, that's who you're interacting with versus you go down south. And let's say you play in a place like South Carolina and you meet somebody who like they're Gullah Geechee and they want, like they want to get down to Frankie Beverly Mays, like they like it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Like every black person in the world is going to start doing the electric slide to Frankie before I let go. Like those things really, really, really matter to me. And that's why I've like gotten so deep into the music and trying to study people and be like, well, what are we doing right now? Especially as a bass player, because as a bass player, you're like you're the foundation, but also you have more than one responsibility because you're playing harmony and you're playing rhythm.
Yeah.
And you're also in the back and you're also doing the same thing over and over and over. And you need to, it's almost like you have to, it's like a bellows. You have to like envelop it and like develop it and like play with others and like be mutable and be malleable, but not too dogmatic. It's just what it is.
I love listening to you play. I've heard you on lots of different recordings and I look forward to listening to this album too. And you're just it seems like to me you're a translator of the life that you're experiencing. And you translate it like super, super well. And you also strike me as somebody who's never read a book in your life. That's sarcasm.
Don't tell my mom.
That was about,
I was like, don't tell my mom.
I saw the backhand about to come out.
Like, I saw the look in your eyes. Oh, no. Like, but seriously, like, you truly, like, take in the world around you. And I truly believe that music, like, is that translator you're talking about, like, how it translated to people's lives in the past, and I would fair to reason much of what you do in your personal journey of writing music and the new album and everything else is a way to translate and have a different language to present like the world that you're intaking and how you feel it and
well, it's all storytelling.
It's storytelling.
So
Music is like the universal language. I see it all the time, and you see it too. You go into a hall and you see people that are all divided and maybe not on the same page, and you play with them, and you're part of that experience for an hour, hour and a half, and you can see the transformation happen just in the body language of the people in the room, right?
Oh yeah.
You soften the edges and open up minds, and we all feel things differently.
All the above, check.
Oh,
all the above. So to that point, why does live music matter?
Oh my God! Ooh, girl, fasten your seatbelt. Well, live music, I mean, is literally what it is. It's like church. You know what I mean? Like it even more so now. After COVID, I realized so much about human beings and like
Mhm.
occupying each other's space, right? When you occupy someone's space, you don't realize the implications it has when you absorb someone else's energy and when you exchange that energy back. So I was hanging out with these people, like so many musicians. I'd list the list forever. Oh my God, days and days and days. And we all are like a macrocosm. So much so to the point where now if one person is like doing some stuff, you know, like if they're going through something, we all know instantly. And then vice versa. Like if I'm going through something, everybody knows it. And they're like, Bessie, you good? I'm like, yeah, of course I'm good. I'm just crazy. You know, like I thought I was obvious with the whole pirate thing. I mean, come on, yeah. I'm just kind of a lunatic.
Yeah, we are talking to a real pirate here.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
yeah.
Well, you know, I'll get into that stuff too. I mean, that's a whole other girl, that's a whole other big can of worms. Oh, we don't have enough time to convey that, you know. But
the live music.
But the live music thing is like, it's quite literally what it is. You know, like you're going somewhere and sound you're made of water. Like sound moves water. Like it's just kind of what it is. Like you're either gonna get healed or damaged from whatever you hear. Live music is important because also when you take the air out of music, it's not that I have anything against digital music. I love digital. I love all kind of this is a riddle. I love that. I love that stuff. Oh yeah, because you have to. When you start really loving music, then you realize you just kind of love humanity.
Yeah.
You know, you love being alive. You know, days don't exist. That's what they told us. I mean, we've created that because like we needed to like just get stuff done, but like. You're just going to sleep because you're tired. It just infinity just is. It just exists. And like what you choose to put inside of your infinity is what becomes your reality. The more that we take out the air, and I noticed this a lot when I started going to hear louder, and it's not a knock on the acts more so than it is the placement. But I started to know, especially because like I really try to be very democratic about everything. That shout out to Winton, you know, but like you have to be democratic as a musician. Because if you become too dogmatic about what you think it should be, you'll lose sight of little baby grandma. We all have to look for the little collective baby grandma in the room. That's what I do every time. I'm like, where's the little baby grandma? Where's the most fragile part of our society in this room right now? And I can't help but look at that little drum and that little like cushion. But it's the same concept. If I brought my grandma to go hear Black Sabbath, you know, how would she react? It's the same thing. That's why live music is important, because you need a plethora of views to be able to create something that is truly democratic. When you have people just making music and there's like, it's like within this digital realm, and it's not a knock on the digital realm, but there's no air, there's no history usually. You know, there may be like a sample, but the sample is not necessarily history. The sample could be history, but history is like, when you hear Jimmy Cobb, and the reason why he sounds the way he does is because he was married to Dinah Washington. I keep going back to Jimmy Cobb because I keep seeing him. But like, he's married to Dinah Washington. Dinah Washington is an empress of the blues, a queen of the blues. So like, this dude is directly connected to the blues, and you feel that when you're around him. People that are connected to the blues, people of the blues, are very different than other people. They're very different. I've seen Buddy Guy. I've seen, you know, those kinds of people that are like, they were born in different circumstances, different kinds of views of how to live their daily life. And every time, you know, it comes to my mind the same thing. You know, a person like, you take a band like Sabbath, who is essentially just playing the blues but loud and dark, you know, and with funny and like, I mean, don't get me started on how much I love Ozzy. Ozzy is kind of one of my biggest influences.
He's so great.
Oh, I love him so much. But and Tommy too, and Tony. But like, you know, that's why we need live music, because you will lose the collective little baby grandma. You will lose the Black community. You will lose like the things that kept us alive in the first place. We could technically live in a society where there is no race, there is no creed, there is no gender, and all of this stuff. But all of those things were there to protect the people, just so they could live their lives. So if you lose that, you kind of lose the meaning of what it means to be a human being anyways. I'm like, where's baby grandma? Just look for her. You'll find her every time in the room. I'll be playing my shows, and I mean, my shows are so loud and like rockers, but then we'll break down into a ballad because like that's where she lives. She's gonna want, she just, I always imagine that she's standing in the back of the room, and I'm just like, where's she at? And she's there, and she's like,
Just waiting.
just like,
waiting.
yeah, just listen, like, oh, you sound better. You sound better than you sounded yesterday. You hit that. You finally hit that note, or something nice, because
Isn't it nice to have like that? I love that description of making sure when you're playing live music that you always plan for baby grandma.
yeah, you gotta
And
find,
however baby grandma is represented in you.
yeah, like
Yeah.
even if you're going to go see System of a Down or Guar or something, like
Yeah.
like you kind of gotta. They kind of get to that collective. Like I hate, like as much as loud and all of that stuff is mastered and all of that stuff. There's still that element
Yeah.
of baby because you're still singing a song to someone. You're writing a song. You're crafting a narrative. And I mean, I'm so deeply invested in the history of songwriting. That's why I went all the way back to sea shanties, to people like Dufay, like because you have to go back and see how people were just like it's all the blues. It's all essentially like a form of the blues where like we're either conveying pain or pleasure, right? Or something that's a complexity of the two, And I'm like, well, we're still kind of doing that now. You still got to set up, you still got to do the stuff. But then when you're playing in the room, there's a moment where sometimes you're playing, and this happens all the time. It still happens to me. I'm just more aware of it now. But like you be playing and like there's like a dead space that happens, and you just feel it, like everybody's kind of either checked out or they're thinking about the text they got to send their girlfriend after the gig, or like they got to pay their meter, whatever it is, the arbitrary stuff. But like, and then there's like a moment that something happens where it takes us all out of that experience, and then it elevates us beyond our station there. That is really important. That doesn't really happen when you start when you just eliminate live music. You could record. I mean, I love recorded music and I love all this stuff, but then also the engagement of performance and the world that you can create through performance. I oftentimes describe to my students the difference between being an architect of the music and being a designer. Right? An architect is somebody like a Wynton Marsalis. A Terrence Blanchard, people that are composers, people that have studied a wide range of harmony and rhythm and the history of music, and they've invested themselves in the practice of their instrument, but also could probably play other instruments by virtue of playing music. Because when you play music, it just opens the floodgates to infinity, pretty much, of like playing music. You could basically play a drum beat or whatever. Designers are people that love music and perform and work on music and do all this stuff, but they're not aware of like what a C half diminished chord looks like, or or can't read music, or they don't have an awareness of what rhythms look like notated, or they can't create music essentially, like just by their own virtues, not
Right.
like going in logic and like making a boom ticky tap boom ticky on ticky tacky girl, I'm talking to you. Like they can't go and do that. That's silly. I like that. Girl, I'm talking to you. Oh, that was.
Is that a line from last night, or just something?
No.
He's deep into a program, right?
No.
there.
I was just. Well, I'm saying like
But you need both of those two personas, I guess, is a way to describe what you just said.
Well, the thing that happens is we live in a world of elaborate designers, elaborate. So people that do that thing where they go online and like or go on Logic and just make a drum beat and then record themselves, and then all of a sudden they're at the Grammys.
Yeah.
We don't have enough architects anymore, and even instrumental architects, like people that play instruments that are not great architects. The issue that happens is you get a lot of people that work in the music industry that are great architects that can make a big band arrangement, that can do all of this stuff, but their design sucks. Their interior design is terrible. Like there's no finesse, there's no study of fashion, there's no study of art, there's no study of culture, of anything. You can't see it when they come on. They just stand on the stage and play their instrument. And they don't want to create a dynamic range for the audiences that experience their artistry, Designers, they have no choice. That's what they're doing. How many singers have you met? It's like, oh yeah, I want to get to like a Barbra Streisand thing with like with a Billie Holiday, and then they go and do that, and then they sell out an arena. You know what I mean? Like, there's tons of people like that. The only issue with people like that is because of education and because we're trying to advance the art forms and make better situations for musicians, artists to exist in. You'll get situations like that where now, musical pedagogy is what it is, where like you can get a person that is a great designer and a great architect who like will know levels of culture, know what they're trying to convey, and know the levels of love that they want to convey to the audience. And like if it's romantic or if it's like a universal thing like a Bob Marley or or just funky good times like Parliament Funkadelic and Simon Family Stone. Like you get people like that. But, we need a balance. We need something where, and that's why I always kind of gravitated towards rock and roll, because like when you get down to the core, like the rockers are playing and dealing with a level of architecture because they play in the blues. But then because the design, they're like basically trying to transport you every time. Keith Richards, my heroes. Keith Richards, Saul Hudson, Slash. These dudes are like they're like I love them just as much as I love like Lester Young and Dizzy Gillespie, because you have to be able to function into it. Like, and that's the thing that I was talking about before we got into the interview about like my love of rock and roll comes because of also this sense of normalcy that comes with rock and roll. There is a darkness and a melancholy that comes from jazz because it is rooted in the Afro-American experience. And that always has to be addressed, because there has been innumerable musicians, the greatest musicians in the world, that have struggled and not gotten to see the fruits of the modern world so far.
Yeah.
Me, I'm Enchanted Jazz Pirate. Like, I'm gonna go live on a boat and like heal the world like that, and just never have to worry about a venue because I'll just live on one. But like, I'm a strange kind of guy. Very, very strange. Kind of in like a Kerouac, Hunter S. Thompson kind of. But like,
where's my typewriter and my cigarette?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I live in darkness with candles.
I mean, you brought up so many things and brought them into all this conversation.
Yeah, no,
I'm waiting for
but
what's next?
But
Jenna Torturers
it's
and
mainly to
Beethoven.
say for the live music thing, you lose that. People just don't want to study music. They're not into music. They're into the things that are around music. And I'm not into that because I've experienced that. I've been on the back end of that. I've played bass with damn near everybody. I've stood in the back at a young age too, especially because like I do want to learn things from different people and like get to know what they do. The only issue is there's a level of arrogance that happens across the different communities. Like nobody wants it. Like the cats that play trad only want to play trad, or the cats that play R&B and funk only want to play R&B and funk, and then it turns into this like quasi like high school musical infrastructure where it's like you got the R&B jocks over here, and then you got the trad nerds over here, and then you got like the Latino weirdo dudes over here that like check out these deep cut Buena Vista Social Club records over here, like so it's, and that's not to say that that's what they are that at all, but like it turns into that, and I was like, this is stupid. Like, If I want to go listen to Busta Rhymes and then go listen to Louis Armstrong right after, and then go check out Idekele, I'm gonna do all of that in the same hour. Because it's 2025 and it's all killing.
Yeah.
You go see Busta Rhymes, it's amazing. You go see Louis, well, you can't go see Louis Armstrong, but you go listen to Louis Armstrong, it's amazing. And then you go see Chucho Valdez, it's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
there shouldn't be any barrier in music at all. And I get it. People have to draw their lines. You know, it's like you don't want people, you know, you want to be able to have something for yourself. And there is a virtue to having culture and the integrity of culture, which is something that my mentor Winton talks about all the time. He says, you know, integrity is so important. But at the same time, like, the thing that keeps the integrity is the respect for it, and then therefore, like, learning it at its core. Like, if I want to go learn how to play a better tumbao, who do I go to? I mean, one of my best friends is Carlos Enriquez. So, like, I'm going to go there. If I want to, like, know what the difference between slow hand pivot versus Chester's artist, I'm going to go to Nicholas Payton because he lived in New Orleans and he was around that music. His dad's Walter Payton. So, like, that's instant, you know? If I want to if I want to know how, like, okay, like, I want to use this high gate, you know, filter, but then, like, is it going to get in the way of, like, the, you know, the 200? Like, if I want to know that kind of stuff, and trust me, that, like, there's a reason why I haven't really gone into, like, the sound engineering aspect, mainly because I wanted to have as much of a foundation separate from recording myself and separate from the tool and function of recording myself. I wanted to know how to play first and play anything.
And
Like-
and play you can. You are an
I mean,
amazing
I try to.
player, and I'd feel like you have blessed us with probably 3,000 quotes that
yeah.
that all of us could, like, take and live a small part of our life around. And your musical knowledge and your grasp of everything has just been
All of the above, yeah.
all of the above has been, like, spellbindingly wonderful. Russell, we could talk for literally hours with you.
I mean, we
yeah,
could, you know?
Yeah, but our cameras are going to run out of batteries
Oh,
if we don't. if we
These
don't.
modern things.
Yeah, these
you know.
these stupid modern things.
RussellHall.com, is that the best place?
RussellHallBass.com. Yeah.
Bass.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
or you can follow me on Instagram at Captain Bessie Suave.
All right.
Captain.
I love it. We'll put that in the notes on the cast.
I wish we had another week
Yeah.
to.
Well, next time you're in town, we're going to make sure you
Oh,
get back
please.
here. to
I'll be
town
back in December. So
Perfect. Well, when you're in
Wonderful.
December, we'll catch up some
Beautiful.
more.
I'm
All right.
excited. Yeah.
All right. Thank
Russell,
you so
thank
much.
you so much for being
thank
here
you
with
guys.
us.
Oh my God, it's so much fun. Thank you so much. Thank you.